impactful Big Ten transfer for each team. Unfortunately, I do not have a nice graphic or anything like that in this one. However, I'm going to go through each team and just kind of quickly name the person or the player that I think will be the most impactful that is a transfer for their team this season. Let's just go ahead and go alphabetically. Illinois. I believe Terrence Brooks will be the most impactful transfer for this team. The cornerback coming over from Texas and once very highly rated recruit. I had a little bit of a hard time deciding between him and Zahir Franklin. I do think that Illinois, because of Luke Altmaier, maybe if I didn't think Luke Altmaier was, maybe as good, or maybe if it was his first year starting, I would lean a little bit more on Zahir Franklin, but I think Terrence Brooks is going to be very good for Illinois. Illinois has a track record of very good cornerbacks here recently. Devin Witherspoon being one of those, and the guy that gets a lot of credit for that is Ryan Walters, but it's actually Aaron Henry at Illinois that did a lot of that developing of Devin Witherspoon. So if he can get his hands on Terrence Brooks and really turn him into something, that would be awesome there for Illinois. Indiana, you're going to see a theme here, folks. All right. If you're a QB, you're probably the most impactful transfer. It just is what it is. It's the most important position. I have a few on here where I say, well, maybe not, but for the most part, Curtis Rourke, coming over from Ohio, this is going to be huge. Can Curtis Rourke actually play in Power 4 football? Now, I've gotten a lot of pushback. I think Curtis Rourke is borderline a top 5 quarterback in this conference. I've got a lot of pushback from that because people don't believe that he can be a top 5 quarterback because he played in G5. Understandable. However, I think if you see what he's done, he's not just done well because of competition. I think he has the intangibles. I think he understands the game well enough. I think that he's going to run a pretty good offense here for Kirk Cinetti, and I think that he's going to have some good wide receivers around him. Not great, but he has some good wide receivers coming in who are going to be good pieces around him, and I think Curtis Rourke is really going to help this offense this year. I really look forward to see what he can do, and this offense will go as Curtis Rourke goes. That's been one of Indiana's issues is on offense. They can't find their quarterback who can get things done for them. They started off with Taven Jackson last year, then they moved on to, I'm blanking on the name of the quarterback last year for Indiana. And of course that, that didn't go so well there, but now they have Curtis Rourke here. And I believe Indiana could, not predicting they will, but could get to 6 wins this season, which would be a good accomplishment for the Hoosiers. Iowa. All right. So Iowa's not very many transfers. I think the Gill wide receiver is the only other transfer other than Brendan Sullivan. I don't even know if Brendan Sullivan's going to be starting, but you're going to have to be impactful as a backup quarterback for Iowa if Cade McNamara is your starter, because Cade McNamara has been injury prone. I don't normally like to say that about players, but he has. He hasn't been able to finish an entire season since 2021, and he's in one of his fifth, sixth, seventh year. I don't even remember at this point because it's been so long. But he's late in his career, so you're going to need some depth behind him. And I think Brendan Sullivan has a good chance to try to win the starting job here in training camp. Now I think they'll go with Cade McNamara. I think that's just kind of in Kirk Ferentz's DNA, go with the guy who has experience. But I wouldn't be surprised if we find ourselves with Brendan Sullivan week 2, week 3. Maybe Cade's banged up a little bit, but it's not just because of injury. It's also because Brendan Sullivan, I think, fits what Tim Lester wants to do. And there's more history there in the background than I think some people realize. All right, another quarterback, but I'm going to give you another pick on this one if he's not the starter. Excuse me, guys. MJ Morris. If he starts, he will be the most impactful player. I do think he's going to start over Billy Edwards Jr., but that is still a battle right now in camp, and there are other transfers on this team, so I can't say that for sure. I think that Jalen Husky, the cornerback from Bowling Green, is going to be the most impactful transfer for this team. I think Maryland has good linebacker play, so I'm not as worried about them stopping the run as I am worried about them stopping the pass. And to have a very good cornerback on your team is going to be super helpful. He was able to play well at Bowling Green, and so he's coming over to Maryland here. We'll see, kind of like Curtis Rourke, but obviously not the same pressure pack situation. We'll see if Jalen Husky can make a difference for this Maryland defense. All right, Michigan. A little bit of a hot take here. I think Josh Pribe, however you say his name, he's going to be the left guard for Michigan this year, coming from Northwestern. I believe he will be the left guard. And this is a team that lost their entire offensive line from last year. And Josh is a veteran player, a grad transfer coming over. He's played snaps at Northwestern, and I think it's going to be imperative that they have somebody on that line with experience who's played enough snaps to really be able to lead this offensive line. I think that you're going to look for Josh to be a bit of a leader on this team this year, and that's going to be important for him to be able to do that. And so that is why he is the most impactful transfer, even though I believe they've gotten better players. The Maryland linebacker coming over, Brashawn, forget his name, but he's coming over. He's very athletic. He's going to be a nice piece for him. But I'm not worried about that defense, right? I'm not worried about that at all. This Michigan team is going to go by their offense. And who does Sherrone Moore lean on more than anybody else with his offense? It's his offensive line. He needs a leader on that offensive line. I think Josh could make an impact in that way, which should be the most impactful part for Michigan this season. Michigan State, this is easy. Aiden Childs. If he can be everything that Michigan State Spartan fans are hoping that he can be, this is going to be awesome for them. If he flounders, if he doesn't do so well, it's not going to be awesome for him. So we'll see how it goes there. Minnesota, I mean, we're on a quarterback tear here. Minnesota, Max Brosmer, for the quarterback from New Hampshire, awesome quarterback in FCS. I mean, record breaker, 4,000 plus yards, nearly 5,000 if I'm not mistaken, but just super awesome quarterback there at the FCS level. If Curtis Rourke can make the jump from G5 to Power 4, Max Brosmer can make the jump from FCS to Power 4, in my opinion, just based off the way he played and watching some of what he did. So he's going to be super impactful. I mean, PJ Fleck, he needs an offense this year. He needs to have an offense, and he needs to have a quarterback that he trusts. Darius Taylor is going to be good, but you need to have a quarterback you can trust, so that way you're not just running the ball at the end of the game, and that's only threat that you have. You have to be able to pass the ball, have some accuracy to complete some passes late in the game as well. All right, Nebraska. My Nebraska transfer is... It's toss-up right now between Dante Dow, the running back from Oregon, and Jamal Banks, the wide receiver from Wake Forest. I think this offense is going to need some pieces around Dylan Raiola when he ultimately makes a start. I know that there were some odds there for a little bit for the other guy. Well, what's his name over at Nebraska? Heinrich Harburg over there. However, I do think that Dylan Raiola is going to end up being your guy, and I think he's going to need some weapons around him. And I think that the wide receiver Jamal Banks and Dante Dowdell, however you pronounce it, I think that they're both going to be huge pieces. So if I had to pick, I'd probably pick Jamal Banks, just because I think that he's going to be a big piece, and I think that a freshman quarterback needs a wide receiver he can rely on and kind of go to when things aren't going so well. But at the end of the day, it could be either one of those two guys. All right, Northwestern, Mike Wright, quarterback from Mississippi State, also spent 3 years with Vanderbilt there, but he never started the entire season at Mississippi State or any of these other places. However, he has been a good piece for these teams. He's played in a lot of games for them and made some impactful plays. Actually, I don't know if he may have started the full season his third year at Vanderbilt. I think he played in 12 games. I don't know if he started all 12 of those games, but he played in a lot of games that season. And so Northwestern, I mean, they're going to need somebody on offense who can really ignite this Northwestern offense and make it something a little bit better than what it has been the past few years. Now, last year, they kind of went through quarterbacks and things went okay. So maybe the quarterback isn't as big as an impact for them. Perhaps David Braun is going to be able to work with him no matter who it is. But I like for Mike Wright to make an impact on this team as a transfer. Ohio State, you could pick a lot of different people here. You could go with Quinshawn Judkins, the running back. You could go with Caleb Downs, the safety. You could go with Seth McLaughlin, the center from Alabama, with Ohio State and their issues that they've had for the last few years with offensive line. I still think it's going to be Caleb Downs, the safety. When you get one of, if not the best safety in all of college football, a best player at their position in all of college football. And Quinshon Judkins has an argument for that. I think you still take Ollie Gordon over him just because of what Ollie Gordon has been able to do. But Quinshon Judkins has had 2 seasons of very good play. So I wouldn't necessarily dislike the pick if you said Quinshon Judkins was better than Ollie Gordon. But I do think at the end of the day, Caleb Downs is going to be that piece that is most impactful for Ohio State, solidifying the best secondary in the nation. In my mind, Notre Dame is up there as well. Michigan is up there as well. But I think Ohio State, at the end of the day, with Caleb Downs, with Denzel Burke, some of these other guys, they're going to be the best secondary in the nation. Jordan Hancock, best nickel corner in the nation, in my mind. All right, Oregon, Dillon Gabriel. This is easy. Quarterback for them. Can he replicate what Bo Nix was able to do the past few years? That's going to be imperative that he's going to be able to do something like that. I don't know, he'll be able to play everything the exact same as Bo Nix, but he's definitely going to be able to replicate it in some ways and do some of the things that Bo Nix was able to do. So you definitely need that for this Ducks squad. AJ Harris, the cornerback from Georgia. This is what Penn State needs, right? They need a star corner in their secondary. I think AJ Harris could be one of those guys. He is a young guy from Georgia. However, he's coming in. He's got that championship pedigree coming from Georgia. I don't think he was there when they won a championship because I think he might be a redshirt sophomore. I can't remember. But him coming in from there has the culture of one of the best teams, an elite team in college football. So I think he's going to be imperative for them. Purdue, Reggie Love, the running back coming in from Illinois. They have good running backs on this team, but I think Reggie Love is going to give them kind of a change of pace back a little bit, and that's going to be really good for Purdue, providing that offensive line is able to stay healthy this year. We'll see if that can happen. That needs to be a good piece there. Rutgers, Dymere Miller, the wide receiver coming in from Monmouth, had a huge season at Monmouth. We'll see if Rutgers can make that happen. Kirk Soraka is going to want to be able to throw the ball more with his guy, Athan Kaliak-Manis. However, it might not work so well unless you have a receiver that can be his guy. Dymere Miller can be that guy for Athan Kaliak-Manis, and I think that you're probably going to see some smaller rushing numbers for Kyle Monangai this year because you are going to see an offense that is going to be able to throw the ball better. I didn't say they're going to be great, but is better than last year. Gavin Wimsatt struggled in a lot of ways, and I think that's one of the reasons why they opted to bring in Athan Kaliak-Manis. But I do think Dymere Miller, he's going to be the big piece of that. He's going to be the one that makes this passing game be able to go. So one of my only times I'm going to take a player other than the quarterback in this situation because I do think Athan Kaliak-Manis is going to be required to have a very strong wide receiver like Dymere Miller if he's able to make that transition from FCS to Power 4 as well as we might hope. UCLA, Rico Flores Jr. coming in from Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't have a lot of great wide receivers last year. However, Rico Flores Jr. had some times when he looked pretty good for them. So can he come in, be a good piece for Ethan Garbers and that offense to be able to do what they need to do? UCLA doesn't have a whole lot of great wide receivers on their roster this year. In my mind, maybe they surprise me, but he's going to need to come in and be a top target for Ethan Garbers this season. Woody Marks, running back, coming in. USC, they love their transfer running backs. He's going to need to be a good piece for them. He's going to also be a good receiving option for Miller Moss, which is going to be huge for him, especially being a young guy. Only, I think, his second start of his career is going to be the start of this season. So he's going to need somebody that can check the ball down too. Washington's Jonah Coleman, the running back out of Arizona, one of the best running backs in the nation and all of college football, not just like top transfer running backs. In my mind, one of the best running backs in the nation. What he was able to do with some limited snaps last year was incredibly impressive down in Arizona. So if he can start replicating that at Washington, you're going to see a Washington offense, and him knowing Jed Fish, him understanding that kind of, what he's bringing to the team, that's going to be huge. When you're able to bring your guys like that, bring your culture, bring people, that's huge for them. So I like for Jonah Coleman to be the piece there, and then end it with Wisconsin and their quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke coming over, the quarterback from Miami. Can he replicate what he was able to do a couple years ago when he was fantastic? Or will he be what he was under Josh Gaddis? Let's hope not. Let's hope he is able to be who Phil Longo wants him to be. Phil Longo was able to turn Drake May into something really special when he was there 2 years ago at North Carolina. Can he do something similar with Tyler Van Dyke? No, he's not going to be a Heisman hopeful, I don't think. However, he can make Tyler Van Dyke into the best version of himself, I believe.